With Clinch, chatting all things MMA.
Hi and welcome to The Clinch here on eNCA.com, where we talk about all things MMA in South Africa and sometimes the rest of the planet. We've had a change of surroundings. We got out of the studio and come here to the beautiful Pilanesburg, to Sun City, the venue for next month's iconic EFC 54 landmark event, where 3 title fights will be up for grabs. In an exclusive 4-part VODCAST series on eNCA.com, we'll be talking to all 6 fighters vying for those 3 titles. Johannesburg's Shana Power looks to beat Durban's Amanda Lino for the first women's title in the history of the sport on this continent. Power's teammate from Five Foot Militia, JP Bass, will look to beat Baldwin Umdalusi from Durban for the interim flyweight title, and the veteran Andrew Van Zyl. And the main card will try and knock out the Bulawayo bomber Elvis Moyo from Zimbabwe. We're going to speak to all 6 fighters right here, right now. It's going to be a cracker. Welcome to The Clinch.
With Clinch, chatting all things MMA.
The wait is over.
With Clinch, chatting all things MMA.
Hi and welcome back to The Clinch, where we're talking about MMA in South Africa. We've just got back from quite an exhausting 2.5 days in Sun City, and it was absolutely wonderful. I'm here with EFC matchmaker Graeme Cartmell, because Graeme, it's quite interesting when you have a media junket like that and you get to spend 2.5 days with your 6 main fighters headlining the event, and you kind of get a vibe of how they're feeling about their fights, the biggest fight of their careers 3 weeks out. What did you gain from the 2.5 days in Sun City?
I found it was, I just love spending time with the guys. You know, you get to, like you say, feel them out, understand exactly what's going through their minds. They are spending a couple of days in the place that they're going to be fighting. So, and obviously around each other. They're around each other quite a bit. They're doing face-offs. They're in front of the media. So you see a different side to the athlete, which is very cool.
Well, let's look at this ridiculous main card then, because you have put a ridiculous main card together, and thanks again for it. I mean, JP Bass and Baldwin, they fought before. This is a very different JP Bass from a year ago, but also Baldwin was very confident. I mean, I kind of thinking he's going to make weight, and I mean, he answered those questions very maturely. But what kind of vibe did you get from these 2 guys for the interim flyweight title fight?
So let me just chat through both of them. Baldwin Umdalusi, really good fighter, and he deserves to be there. The weight's been a big issue. I feel, you know, I can't speak for him. I'm not in his body. I don't know how he is, but just from the look of him, he's going to make weight. And I want him to make weight, because who doesn't? You know, the last thing we want is to have to turn this into a normal fight, because that's exactly what happens when it's not a title fight and you don't make weight. So I know he's going to make weight. It's in him now to do it, and he can. It's not like it's outside of his grasp. He said to me, Graeme, I can't wait. You know, I want to beat this guy. He's vehement that he's going to beat him. He's convinced because he's beaten him already. So that's an upside in his mind. In his mind, he's got the upper hand. But he wants a shot at Zulu Boy. And I'm mentioning this not for any other reason, but they have such a similar style. Yeah. And Baldwin wants that. He wants a stand and trade type of athlete. Now, going over to JP Bass, if JP Bass can fight the way he fought against Abdul, then I think I think Baldwin's going to get the fight he wanted, because JP was he was flawless against Abdul.
Yeah,
he looked so good, man.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm really convinced that just spending time with them now, understanding where they are in their careers, understanding how much they want it, they both want it, and the type of fights that they're going to give one another, I think it's going to be spectacular, because it's going to be a stand-up war. We know that JP's got the ground game, but I think that after Baldwin had submitted him, I think JP's got a point to prove now.
You mentioned Zulu Boy and Kazimula Zulu, who's did pretty well on tough. He's training with Henry Cejudo in the States in wrestling. He may get a contract. He may fight at the Ultimate Fighter finale. We don't know. But there is a possibility that this interim title fight may turn into an undisputed title fight. What's going to happen?
I have the feeling it's going to be more of it's going to be a case that the UFC are looking at Zulu and saying, yeah, he's phenomenal. He did well against a guy that goes quite far. So He's got amazing striking. He's helping Sejudo with his stand-up game at his camp ahead of the fight in December. But they are jam-packed in those divisions. The lower divisions, they've got tons of guys all clambering to try and get in there. And he's still our champ, man. He did so well. I think he's going to come back. I believe he'll be back next year. And the winner will face Zulu. I really do believe it.
I've got mixed feelings about that. I'd love to see him come back and fight the winner of these two guys, but also, you want South African fighters to do well. So I'm kind of
it's a hard one to digest.
Yeah.
Obviously we want Zulu there and we want him kicking butt in the UFC. But if they don't offer him a contract, hell, who doesn't want to see Baldwin and Zulu or JP and Zulu? Both of them would be great matchups against him.
How was JP based? I mean, this at Sun City these past 2.5 days. What a character!
It's comical, eh?
He came out of his shell. I don't know if he's always been that way. But
the only time I heard him shut up is when Cairo turned around to him because he was going on and on and on about how he's training this and he's going to beat this guy and ragging on Don Madge, his training partner. And Cairo said, "You know what? You must train. You must train your tap." And he just sat down and looked at Cairo. And I was in stitches. I was really, really crying on that one. He's a character.
He was also. I really enjoyed his company. What do you make of Shauna and Amanda this week then? Because both are looking ready to make history as the first women's champ in the history of the sport on this continent. I keep saying it, and I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for putting on. Finally get a title fight.
I'm happy that they're there.
Shauna was very introspective, very controlled, also kind of confident. But Amanda was gone bubbling over. She thoroughly enjoyed herself. What vibe did you get from both girls this past week?
Totally different,
really?
Diametrically opposed in terms of their state of mind. I think the underlying, they share one underlying sentiment is that they both want this. Yeah, and that's evident. But how they're reacting to it is very different. Like, I was there for the interviews with Shauna, and she got really emotional. And I said it to you before, it wasn't negative. It was more an emotion of, this is how much she sacrificed. It all came out when she was giving an interview. Like, she sacrificed so much to be here. And I can understand, like, the whole world, they are heralding the women's MMA landscape right now. They are the people that are the forerunners in the whole thing. It's historic for them.
Yeah.
And she's wearing that jacket. She's wearing it very hard. It's very heavy on her, and I think that it all came out, and she's just like, I want this so much.
And do you think that fabric's a bit lighter on Amanda?
Amanda, number one, she's experienced a loss. That it clears any sort of pathways of, and your expectations. You know what it's like to lose, and you don't want to do it again.
Yeah, no. She said she learned a lot from the Isabel Pereira loss. I mean, she really took it well.
And I think that Amanda just seems like she's zoning in on it, and she wants it more than anything.
Yeah, and she's got bigger biceps than you, Graeme Cartmell. That's for
sure. That girl is she's a specimen, Simon. That is a specimen of an athlete, and they're both very different in the way they fight. Amanda's aggressive. She's likes to get stuck in there. Yeah. Shauna actually addressed this whole running from Mikhail Desejny
thing. What did she say?
She basically said that, and I'm going to give her version. I'm not going to give you my opinion of it because it doesn't make a difference. Her opinion was she was ahead on points after the second round, and that she didn't need to do much work in the third, and could see that McCall was taking unnecessary punishment. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is it how you should win a fight? No.
But she had cardio for days, and I think that's one thing Shauna Power is going to bring. Just to make sure, all of these 3 title fights, those top 3 fights in this main card are all 5-round fights.
Yeah, all 5-round fights. So the whole build-up is going to be amazing. Can you imagine? Like, you're going to start the main card off, go through the first 2, and all of a sudden you're going to hit 3 title fights in a row.
Wow.
And we never know if they're going to go the distance. But if I had to put my money on it, I think that probably the only one that could stand a chance of going the distance, or the most likely one, is Base versus Mduluzi.
So all 6 fighters, apart from, and correct me if I'm wrong, apart from Andrew Van Zyl, all the other 5 fighters, have they ever fought in a 5-round fight before? JP, Baldwin, Shauna,
no,
Amanda,
no,
Elvis.
you're right. I mean,
they've never gone past
Andrew's
3 rounds.
the only guy.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad all right. Let's go on, let's talk about Andrew and Elvis. I mean, don't you find it ironic, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because you might disagree with me, that Andrew Fanzel is a far tougher opponent for Elvis Moore than Donnie van Heerden would have been?
Absolutely. Many people were writing Donnie off for that fight. They were favouring Elvis. Going into that, we know that Donnie wouldn't have worked on his ground game. He doesn't come in with much of a plan in that regard. And the stand-up practitioner in that regard, out of the two of them, is undoubtedly Elvis Moore. Yeah. So he's got the punching power. And it's just unfortunate what happened. So, we moved on and we said, okay, cool, let's put on the best fight that would supersede that. And in my opinion, we've given it to the fans. We've given them the best possible heavyweight fight there is. Yeah. Andrew Fanzel is a former champion. He seems to be the guy at the top of the pile. But Elvis has something up his sleeve. I just get such a funny feeling, man. I mean, Andrew talks so highly of Elvis. Yeah. With such respect. I mean, he's a very respectful guy as it is normally. Sure. But in this case, I think there's that he knows that Elvis has got more in his bag of tricks. Elvis has now got a belt in BJJ. Yeah. So he's belted in BJJ. I know that Andrew's obviously got I think he's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but that's very different when you in a hexagon. It kind of the belts are out the window. Yeah. It just is testament to how much Elvis has progressed on the ground.
I mean, Elvis looked in immensely amazing shape. He was so beautifully cut. I mean, fantastic. I've never seen him look like
he's
that.
Rock hard. He used to walk around with quite a little paunch. That's gone now. No. He's lean, he's strong, and he's hard as nails. And he's focused. I mean, just even when we had dinner with him that night, he was like, all he wants to talk about is MMA, fighting. Yeah. This is his life. This is his upliftment. This is how he's going to build his life forward. Yeah.
It was a great. They were both great that day. And how was spending this time with them and with each other? I mean, we were at the reception waiting for our shuttle to the venue, and Andrew was there with us with Bobby, and Elvis came out, and they're, oh mate, how you doing? Handshakes, hugs, chatted through the evening with them. We had dinner with them. Yeah. They were like chatting away with each other. I've never seen that kind of respect with two heavyweights in my life. It was great to see. Such great respect.
It's cool. It's very, very cool. But then when you get them on their own and then they're talking about their fights,
it's about business. Isn't it?
It's there's no love lost there. Yeah, respect each other, but I feel like that fight is built to perfection. Yeah, it's two guys that have faced each other before. They know all the nuances and the little failures in one another, the kinks in the armor. They've tested them, and it's not like it went one round with Elvis and Andrew previously. I mean, the guys felt each other out. They've been watching each other. Andrew knew he was going to be fighting Elvis in his mind because he thought Donnie was going to lose against Elvis. Yeah. And Elvis kind of is so confident that he knew the next opponent that he would be facing was Andrew. So this is always, hanging there, waiting to happen. Now it's happening. So
this fight it's the last fight on this card at UFC 54 on the 5th of October at Sun City, and it's almost like it's a single malt with a cigar, because you have got such a fantastic menu set in front of us for the 5th of October. So let's just go through this undercard, because I've said it before. This undercard is a main event by any other name, isn't it? I mean, you're kicking off that main card with Ricky Michaelis against Faisal Mostert.
Okay, so we can announce that fight has changed.
Oh, really?
Okay, so that fight has changed. So basically what had happened was Michaelis' camp yesterday gave us a call and said, look, he's second course of antibiotics, ain't getting over it, injuries. Cool. I had to pull him off the fight. I phoned Vest Express and I said, listen, man, I've got a fight for you. It's a shorter notice replacement. The guy has been training, so he's been in camp for November. He's a big hitter down in Cape Town. Okay, he's making his debut. Okay, all right. Yeah. His name is Louis Yamji. Okay, and I signed him after watching his videos that his coach sent me, and the guy's just hits like a truck.
He's ready to fight.
He's huge. He's a giant.
What a debut on a main card, one of the biggest.
Yeah, we didn't want to take Vest off. We debated it, and he is a rising star, and he holds that position on his own. Yeah. Yamji's going to, and the beauty is they're so confident, Yamji's camp are so confident that they said to us, give us anybody, give us Vessel Express when we first started, Vessel, anybody in the top tier that you can. Mike Vermeulen, anybody will beat him. confidence needs to be tested. It's going to be his first showing, but sometimes you find those diamonds in the rough, and I think it's a cool matchup.
It's a time to shine. That's without a doubt. What an opportunity.
Either way, that fight was never going to go into the third round. You know what I mean? Ricky and Elvis, somebody's going to try and knock one another's head off, and I think that's going to be kind of a replica fight.
Well, that opens your main card, and then directly after that, there's an empty slot on this main card, Graham, and it's glaring away. You've announced these fights now for EFC 54 quite a while ago, and yet there's this glaring empty slot on that main card. What's going on?
That slot is meant to build the next welterweight contender. I've got Cameron Pritchard, who is going to be fighting Dino Bagatini, who many people see as the next contender.
That's in November.
But it'll be too short for me to offer a fight to Drickus in December if Cameron's fighting in November.
Sure.
Basically, you can't fight one after the other.
No.
It's just unprofessional, and obviously could come up with injuries and all sorts of stuff. So rather let Cameron get his contendership, and then we'll deal with the title fight for him next year. But we need a title contender for a December fight for Drickus. So this fight is building that guy. So it's a welterweight fight.
That's all you can tell me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's look at the undercard.
The fight is signed. It's agreed. It's literally logistics that need to get done.
Duho against Warren is an opener, and we've seen Duho before. He's highly impressive. What can you tell about Warren?
Warren is awesome.
Better?
Warren is so awesome. Follow him on social media. Check that guy out. I've
Really?
actually seen some of the posters that he's been posting. He's very, very cool. He's an outspoken character. We actually interviewed him as a coach a couple of years ago. He was coaching Gareth Bursky, David Bursky. He was the BJJ coach out of that gym. And when that all split apart, the gym split apart, all the boys kind of went to CIT, and then Warren had decided, look, I'm going to hang up my coaching and go down to Durban, start a family, that whole thing. Obviously, the bug has bitten, and you want to be more involved, and he phoned me one day, and he said, Graham, I want to do this. I want to fight. He fought amateurs, very good amateur career, extremely high-level BJJ, also likes to stand and trade, and he's training out of Demolition.
So immediately after that fight, you've got Chart Henning against Yusuf Hassan. I mean, his knockouts, Chart, in his amateur career was incredible, but his takedowns in his last fight were absolutely lightning quick. But you're going up against Yusuf Hassan, his second fight in the UFC, coming from the famous GBH camp along with his long.
I think he's the youngest brother of the Hassan brothers.
The sons. So Ryan
really
and
talented,
Abdul's brother.
Extremely good amateur career. Very high-level BJJ, sneaky little submissions, sneaky ground and pound. A very difficult fight for Chart. Like, this is kind of up there with like where we would like to see him. Start to fight these types of athletes, and either one wins there, it's great for them. There's no downside to that fight. You've got two great prospects fighting each other. I think it might come down to Chart's knockout power.
Yeah.
Though.
No, he's a cracking all-round fighter, and if his takedown defense is good, then Hassan will be off the chart. Kanyeba Anisset looked phenomenal in his last fight against Tumusang Madiba. I mean, he got a performance bonus, even though it was ruled a no contest, but he's going up against Pierre Berto, who's like one of my favourite grapplers in that division.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to also crack.
Pierre's awesome. He's moved over to Ruan Pot, so we're not too sure what to make of his current training camp. He left his old stable was with his dad, where Hanru's from.
From Polokwane to Boksburg is quite a
it's quite a tribe. He's moved, done, and he still retains that. I mean, I don't think the wrestling pedigree ever leaves you. He's still got it. My question is, and here's kind of the crux of this fight. It's really exciting because I know that Anisset actually came from a wrestling background. When he first came here to start MMA, so in the boxing world, he was boxing, cool. Then he migrated over to MMA. He went over to a school with Jacques Rousseau, and it was called Wrestling for MMA.
Right. Oh, wow.
That was the actual school camp.
School. Yeah.
Trained out of him. Got a good wrestling game. If you see him in any of the scrambles, he's very good. He can get to his feet quickly. So I think he's going to be able to negate the wrestling, but the striking, the strength, that's where it's going to come down. And we know the Berto brothers have big overhand rights. They both can knock people out.
Yeah.
So this is going to test Kanyebe to see where he is in the stand-up world. And it's also going to assist with giving Pierre that launch, because Kanyebe is on a 5-fight winning streak. So it really is a well-matched fight in terms of matchup from a stylistic point of view and career.
Yeah, and interesting that I think Henry's progress has also spurred Pierre on to a certain extent. He's seeing his brother number one contender now, right?
Big time.
Straight after that, then let's talk about a ground war. It doesn't stop. Martin de Beer against Abdul Hassan, Yusuf's brother. So his brother's fighting on the same card. Again, great. Durban is really representing this fantastic card, but Martin's from Empangeni, Abdul Hassan's from GBH in town, or Belito, Umhlanga, sorry. I mean, that is also, I mean, Hassan's jits is absolutely incredible. Martin de Beer is a wily character. I mean, he's syncretic. He's an all-round MMA athlete, isn't he?
This ticks a lot of boxes for me. We needed to showcase, I know it's Durban versus Durban, but we really needed to showcase Martin de Beer. I believe in this kid. I think he's a phenom. He's really, really good. He's had one loss against Francois Groenewold in a grappling situation, and he got submitted. But we'll see how he can progress against a even higher level BJ. Well, I mean, I think Abdul and Francois are very similar in terms of their style.
Yeah, great jets, both.
But the one thing that we know Abdul has is he's got the stand up.
Yeah.
So I think Martin is going to build his name off this fight, or if Abdul wins, it's going to re-elevate him and get him back into the bantamweight situation.
Yeah. So as if your smorgasbord on the EFC 54 can't get him better, Wade Henderson against Chad Hanekom. I mean, two guys in very different stages of their careers, but if I remember you telling me that they're both kind of asked for this fight, was that true, or am I not remembering?
Yeah, I think Wade, for different reasons. Wade wants this fight to, I think he's in a very good space right now. For the last two fights, he's been in no man's land. I mean, he's really not come to the party, and he got back into the organisation, into MMA, maybe for the wrong reasons, and maybe just like to kind of, he was going through a divorce and a lot of things, or he's going through some issue in his relationship and in his life, and like maybe a little bit of a crisis, and decided, let me go back to what I know and love, and he got back into MMA, contacted me. Didn't really perform in his last two fights, but I think this time it's the fact that he's fighting a young, up-and-coming prospect, like a real goer in that division, that's made him realise, I need to step up my game. This is a do or die for me. He's either going to do well in this, or I don't know what's next for him. I don't know where to go next with Wade if he doesn't just show up. I'm not looking for a win. I'm looking for Wade Henderson of old.
Yeah.
And this does so much for Chad. He's never fought somebody with a record.
Yeah.
And he needs to. And it'll just give him confidence to go forward and actually start contending, in quite a thin division, but it's so heavy, top heavy.
Yeah. It's a fascinating fight because there's so many different storylines in there. You've got that nostalgia of the olden days where you do want a rejuvenated Wade Henderson, because the Wade Henderson of old, the GOAT at the time.
What is he missing? What is he missing? He's got the skill.
Yeah.
He's fought all over the world.
Yeah.
He's got the experience. What is he missing? It's the one to win. And if that gets ignited.
But again, a guy like Chad Hanekom, who I'm so glad to be seeing fight again. I mean, he hasn't fought enough as far as I'm concerned. So I really look forward to seeing where he goes in his career. Mike Vermeulen against Tomo Kowalkowski. I mean, two very different styles of fighters. Tomasz really does need a win. And Mike Vermeulen is a very exciting heavyweight fighter, but you don't get to see him often enough, do we? I mean, it's been a year since he fought.
He's taken quite a big sabbatical. It wasn't by my choice. I'd wanted him in there for quite a while, and he had a massive fight and busted up his eye down in Cape Town. Awesome guy to watch. He's a brawler, man. He gets in there and mixes it up. He's training partners with Vest Express, and that's another question at the end of the day is, who goes forward for the title if they're presented with that opportunity.
Yeah, that's the conundrum.
So I must say, Mike beating a guy like Thomas.
But Thomas is now, three losses in a row. He won on debut very, very impressively.
He KO'd the current contender.
Elvis, yeah. But then he hasn't won ever since. And here you are flying out.
And maybe there was an early stoppage. I don't know, man. I go back to that fight and I think that knee, it may have been a little bit too premature. But
to ask Elvis about that.
I think he would say that it was premature. I mean, he's kind of humble enough to go, I don't really care. It's fine. It happened. Put it in the past. Let me go forward. But I think if you relook at it, it might have been a little bit premature.
It's great investment. You're flying a guy out from Poland for the undercard, and I think that really does. It's like a good indication, a good measure of how immense this undercard is. I mean, before you even get to 8 p.m. at Sun City on the 15th of October for EFC 54, you've got some cracking scraps. It is one of the best cards you've ever put on this year, Graeme.
We're trying, man. We try and get bigger and better. The whole fight card is built around 3 title fights, and the night needs to progress. The fighters are getting better. There's a lot on the line for every single one of the guys. That's the beauty of this fight card, is that although the fights are stylistically really well matched, I think that we've tried to do the best job possible. There's a lot on the line. Everybody has something to lose and everybody has something to gain here. You know, it's not just a mixed match of guys just scrapping it out. Everybody wants to win, you know.
Yeah, it's a cracking event. And if you want discounted accommodation at Sun City, by the way, go to efcworldwide.com and go through some of the news there, and you will see that there's some codes, some voucher codes. So when you book with Sun City and you're thinking going up on the 15th of October, you can make a long weekend of it, and you can get discounted accommodation if you're going to the EFC, which is absolutely fantastic. Graeme, it's been wonderful.
Before you say goodbye, I want to say one thing. The whole premise of going to Sun City, and people really, really forget this. When you're a kid and you walk into Sun City, I promise you, and it happened to me when we were here. I don't know how you felt.
Giddy as a kid,
you walk in there and it's magical.
Yeah.
It's like being in a magic wonderland. You know, the sun's out, it's blue skies, it's party environment. That is going to be what it's like on the 15th of October, because so many people and families are going to cruise down there for the weekend and spend the entire weekend there. That's why we're doing it on a Saturday. We've changed this fight card specifically because it gives people enough time to get there. Arrive on the Friday after you're going to see the weigh-ins if you want to on the Friday. Then we're going to go into the Saturday. It's going to be an amazing fight night. The fighters are going to be cruising around. The whole Valley of the Waves is going to be pumping. It's going to be a magical.
Cocktails by the beach on Sunday.
Oh, it's cool, man. It's such a destination.
And of course, you can keep watching on the Clinch on eNCA.com. Just navigate to the sports section for all our social media updates and previews and reviews in the build-up to 5th of October, and we'll see you later for some of that. So thank you for watching the special four-part VODCAST exclusive with eNCA.com and EFC Worldwide. Graeme,
thank you for having me.
Thanks.
With Clinch, chatting all things MMA.